What's up everybody, Lucky Scotch here. Today's video we're going to be doing a teardown on my Nova N8 Fury scenario launcher. I'm going to be sending this thing out to Fusion Anodizing to get a custom anodized finish done on it. So we got to tear it all apart and get it prepped up for them to do their thing. So first things first, we're going to take the barrel off. So we'll release the breech, and it's going to be this screw right here. And I like to kind of hold this down a little bit when I'm taking this screw out because there is a spring under there. And this just kind of helps keep everything from flying apart when you take that screw out. So there's that spring, set that aside. This piece obviously just threads right off of there. Set that aside. This little piece right here needs to come off. Set that aside, and that is the barrel assembly all taken apart and ready to go onto. Let's take the handle off next. So that's just going to be a little plug here. You got one individual screw holding the handle on. Take that out. And the handle just pops right off. So the next thing we'll do is we're going to take the actual air chamber assembly off of the lower frame. So it's going to be one screw back here and one screw right here inside the trigger frame. There's a little pass-through that you can get to it from right there. So this back one actually has thread tape on it because it is a seal for this rear air chamber. So when we get this back from anodizing, we're going to have to get this thing cleaned up and get some new thread tape on there. Take that one out. And when you take this apart, take note of these two little items here. You want to be really careful when you take it apart because there is a small spring right here on the trigger assembly. You don't want to lose that. And on this piece here, there's a little pin right here that just sits in there. It will fall out if you're not careful. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out of there and set that aside as well so that we don't lose that piece. So we'll set this trigger frame aside for a second and we'll focus on this. So there's going to be 3 hex screws on the back side here and just 2 on the front. The bottom one is this screw that we just took out. That was one of the ones that holds it onto the trigger frame assembly. So we'll start by taking off the 3 in the back. And we can slide that apart. Now this piece here is another one of those pieces that will just come right out of there. So be careful with that. You don't want to lose that. I'm actually just going to set this aside as well. And as far as this piece goes, I have absolutely no idea how this comes apart. This is where all the pneumatics happen inside the gun. I don't want a chance ruining something and taking apart something that I shouldn't take apart. So this is the only piece of the launcher that's going to be original finish. It's not going to get anything customized. I'm just going to set this aside as is and we'll move on to the next part. So obviously we still got this piece here that we need to take off. That's just 2 more of those little hex screws. And then that will pop off just like the back piece did. And I'm going to take this O-ring off here because this piece will be finished or refinished as well, and we don't want to lose any of our rubber parts because we only want to send in the aluminum pieces. So those 2 pieces are taken apart. We can set those aside, and now we can focus on the trigger frame. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take this latch assembly out of here. And that's just going to be these 2 screws at the front. You don't want to mess with this one because that's what holds this part in. And there are 2 springs inside of there. So leave this one alone. You only want to take these ones out, and then that whole unit will come out as one assembly. That's not it. There we go. Wow, that one's really tight. Okay. And we just take that whole piece out, set that aside, and now we're going to take off this front piece. So that's just going to be these 2 screws on either side here. Okay, now we can take this front piece off, and you're going to have to lift it up and away because this breech release right here is going to be in there, and the only thing holding this in is this little pin right here, and the only thing that holds that pin on is the sides of this back part of the frame when you take it apart. So when you take it apart, that pin is now free. You can just take an Allen key here and push that right out. And then your breech release trigger falls right out. Set that pin aside. And there's also a spring in there. You're going to want to set that aside as well. Don't want to lose any of those parts. So now this front piece is taken apart, and we can set that aside with all the other pieces that we have ready. So now we have the safety switch, the trigger, and the trigger frame that we have to deal with. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take out this little pin right here, and it's not really a pin, it is an Allen screw. So we'll take that out, and this is basically just a cap for a pin that is inside of there. So we'll tip it over to this side, and we'll push our Allen key through there. And that pushes that little pin out. We'll set that pin aside, and now our trigger assembly will fall right out. So now that we have the trigger out of the way, you can see that there are 2 screws right up in here, and those are going to be what holds the trigger frame onto the assembly. So we'll take those 2 out. And now your trigger guard can come right off there. That's ready to be set aside. Get those screws out, set those aside. And now we're just left with the safety select. So now that we have that trigger guard off, we have access to this little cap right here, which is going to be, what size is this? I think it's this one. Yep, so this will just come right out of there, and this is the retainer for your safety select. So now that that's out, we can remove the safety selector, and that is everything completely taken apart. So now that I have all of these parts disassembled and ready to go out to Fusion for anodizing, take a good look. That's the last time you're going to see these items looking the way they do. So stay tuned for the reassembly video. That's going to come up sometime in the near future, and I'll do a little unboxing at the beginning of that video so you guys can see firsthand with me what he did for the custom finish, and we'll put it back together and we'll give you final looks in that video. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next one.